Home Show Garden Pros, helping to turn your thumb green.
Well, hello out there. Here, I'm Danny Milliken with Home Show Garden Pros. We are a live radio show. Happens every single Saturday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Saturday, but on Sports Radio 610. So what we do is we dish out great gardening advice. We have this awesome rotation of gardening experts that comes in, answers your gardening questions. We always hit topics that are seasonal, appropriate, and happen right now. So a lot of the stuff happening right now is freeze recovery questions, which I know is a big deal. We're all worried. A lot of signs of hope out there, which is great. And a lot of signs of sadness too. I'm still monitoring my citrus with the rest of y'all, hoping we see some good stuff. So we got a lot of questions about recovery today. We're just gonna kind of dive in. But I do want to just spend some time talking about our awesome co-op members. They are these incredible mom and pop, amazing destination, beautiful garden centers all over the Houston area. Just really great folks. So Enchanted Forest and Enchanted Garden, southwest of town, right by Richmond, Texas. You got Nelson Nursery and Water Gardens there in Katy. Really Katy's one-stop gardening shop. Beautiful place. That's one of the, all three of those places are just great places to take the kids, go spend some time, whether into petting animals or feeding fish. There's something there for both you and your kids. Great plans for you, fun times for your kids. And also, you go just kind of going, ticking around the map there. Plants for all seasons up on 249, another beautiful spot, incredible plant selection. And, it's funny because every time I talk about plants for all seasons, they really do have plants for all seasons. They have a bunch of incredible, cold hardy, unique shrubs. And we forget shrubs in the landscape, but they are so key to a beautiful, beautiful landscape. And then lastly, the last garden pro that we'll lift up is, that's a pair in Kingwood, Warren Southern Gardens and Kingwood Garden Center, two incredible places up there. Just great spots. And, we really, we talk about a lot of stuff on the show, and a big thing we want to talk about is great products. And so we lift a lot of those places up on our website, HomeShowGardenPros.com. Incredible website, tons of videos there. We answer a lot of questions there via video. There's also the Ask a Pro button, and that is the button that you hit to get your question into me. So via email, I'll answer them via email. We also have a very active and live Facebook group, which this is being shown live on Facebook. Obviously, if you're a YouTube watcher, you'll see it too there. But we're really trying to get gardening information into the hands of people who need it, or really in the brains, I guess, of people who need it, so they can go out and get in the garden, get down and dirty. And man, I saw a lot of great stuff happening in my veggie garden with the rain, a bunch of seeds coming up, plants really taking off from tomatoes to squashes to corn. Yeah, I'm growing that stuff, spinach, lettuce, carrots, that stuff also. Everything really popped up with that rain. So I was just happy to see it. I'm really bummed about citrus, really want to see those pop in. So what we do here is a lot of times we lift up a nonprofit or a gardening group. So like Garden Club of Houston, Urban Harvest, these are great Houston, Harris County Master Gardeners. These are groups where we really like to lift up, take care of, look out for. Just great people doing great stuff. And the group we're kind of lift up today is called OBA. I am the executive director also of OBA, so I'm here kind of serving two roles. Now, I won't do that thing where I'm like, so Danny, what do you think? And then answer, oh, Danny, I think this. We're not doing that. I'm just going to be me answering your gardening questions. So we gleaned from the Facebook page and our email questions. And, obviously, if I'm reading them, we don't have pictures involved. And, my best thing is to see some of your pictures, and more than one. We'll get a conversation going via email. Again, our great website, HomeShowGardenPros.com. All right, here we go. We're going to jump into some questions. Here we go. Question number 1. This one's pretty long from Willie. So, our tree and garden plants are from the builder and were planted about 1.5 years ago. We don't seem to be getting growth anywhere. I believe the tree is a live oak, and I'm not sure what the two types of plants are. They're ligustrums. I saw the picture. We were hoping for suggestions on how to best care for the tree and plants, including watering, fertilizer, use of dirt and mulch, and trimming. I know it's a very broad question, but any advice would be appreciated. So for the sake of this kind of live gardening show, Home Show Garden Pros, I'm a company man, and we really are going to focus on that soil health. So any new building, especially if it's in a new development, you're always going to be pretty questionable about the soil quality because they're filling that stuff up. They have a lot of space to fill. They got to raise your house up so it drains pretty well. So the big thing that you want to do in any of those settings, and Willie, I've seen this situation where you get the plants in and they're just not growing. They just are kind of frozen. And a compost top dress, so get your Nature's Way Resources compost, it's the best in town, and get it in bulk and have it delivered in bulk. And, you know, if you got to do it, get it with your friends and neighbors, and they can do the same thing too. They have the same problems as you, and you compost top dress. That's where you spread excellent compost all over the landscape, about 1/4 of an inch thick or less, and you should get it everywhere. And what it's going to do, it's going to loosen up some of that compacted soil. It's going to add valuable nutrients. And also it's going to add that life that'll begin to till the soil on a microscopic level. The other thing that's really, really important is getting minerals in. Nature's Way's got a great thing called Remineralizer. And the last thing that you really want to do if you're kind of opening up a new development soil is a product called Humates Plus. Microlife makes it. It's a very easy to use granular. You kind of put it in your spreader and get it out there. And it will actually open up pores in the soil, allow you to kind of get carbon down there, nutrients down there. So that's 3 things you need to do. Our big problem is the compaction. Our big problem is compaction. That is a clay soil, fill dirt, no nutrients. But if you can just open up the soil, you'll get down to that living soil beneath there. And so any of you that are in new development neighborhoods, really key to get a soil first approach. So that is something that's really, really important to think about. Any setting you're in, soil matters, but those new developments really do have particularly bad soil. So compost top dress is your first step. I'm saying humates probably twice a year, doing them in February, again in October. That way you're really getting that soil open, receiving the other stuff you're putting in. So we are happy to answer any questions as they come in. I can't quite read this one over here. I'm going to give it a go. You guys will forgive me. I'm going to lean over. This is from Chad. Oh, okay. Gosh, that's small too. So small on both sides. Which one do I go? All right, Danny. So I composted my whole lawn in November, and right now I have nearly an entire lawn of dark green weeds with little yellow-white flowers. That sounds pretty. Just kidding. It sounds awful. Other lawns don't seem to have this weed. Is it because I did compost and the weeds like my lawn better than others? So St. Augustine, so that is something, Chad, that happens. Sorry, that font's a little small. Something that happens, Chad, is that that compost is nitrogen rich. So those bacterial bodies are full of nitrogen. Compost has tons, maybe even a ton of, well, that's not really the case. But anyway, we'll go with tons as a euphemism. Tons of bacteria. They're literally, as organisms go, the most nitrogen rich. Most of you know that nitrogen makes plants green. And so while our St. Augustine is dormant and we're putting nitrogen out there, this is why nobody wants you to fertilize early, is because it'll feed the weeds. So what's great is like you've seen before, when you compost top dress, that St. Augustine will really pick up, really grow quickly, and will outcompete those weeds. So what you've probably got is field sorrel or even clover. And a great thing to do is agrelon. Now, if it's everywhere in your lawn, I would just mow it. You've done the right thing by compost top dressing. Mow it, and then St. Augustine will come on. So just start pretending like it's not there, basically. You're going to be like, oh, no, I don't see it. I'm just going to mow. But if you just have little patches of it, agrelon is a great herbicide to get on there. It's natural. It will not hurt your soil, and you can start forward that way. So a lot of times people put a compost top dress down, and because it's got so much healthy, plant-usable, ready-to-go nitrogen, they see a little burst in the weeds, but that is the last burst of weeds you get because that St. Augustine starts to dominate, or Bermuda, or zoysia, or whatever you are growing. So, Chad, thanks for that great question. We'll try to get a bigger font next time for sure for you. All right, so here we go. Question number 2. All right, this is from Brooke. Brooke says, I want to use rocks as my mulch. Okay, I've seen this a lot, kind of a growing trend. Could you please give me some advice on keeping weeds and leaves out while keeping my plants healthy? Okay, that's kind of a 2-parter. Plants healthy is the easy part. And basically what we're talking about is liquid fertilizer. So you get some liquid fertilizer, and some great ones are Super Seaweed from Microlife, also Ocean's Harvest. And I'm a big fan of the humic acid from Microlife too. So 3 things, easy to pour on. You just pour it on over the gravel mulch, right? You just pour it on over it, let it sink in. What I like to do is barely dilute it and then pour it out and then water over that to rinse it down through there. And so that's how you fertilize it. Another great product that's a liquid is the Rev that we talk about. It's at a lot of the stores that we're telling you to go to. All of our co-op members have it. It's really incredible stuff. That Rev will get nutrients down in there. So liquid fertilizer is the kind of key to health. Now, wood mulch breaks down naturally and provides nutrients and carbon and nitrogen and food for the bacteria, all to the roots area over time. Now, your gravel mulch is not going to do that. And so you really need to do a little bit more feeding than you normally would. So I would put a calendar on your phone, once a month, liquid fertilizer my plants that are in gravel mulch location, my house out front, and then just make it regular. Make sure you're getting lots of good liquid on there. And so that's a way to kind of keep those plants healthy. It is easy to plant too low when you're planting with gravel mulch because it really holds moisture like more than you might think it would, because it just stays humid down there in those rocks. And so it's a fine thing to do. You just need to make sure the plants are healthy. Now, leaves can lead to weeds, right? So as you get more and more weeds sort of stuck in the crevices and the cracks of those rocks, they'll break down and turn into soil. And so you don't really want to pull up any weed that's in gravel, because it'll pull up soil with it and you'll have more place for weed seeds to start. And so your best bet is to kind of get out there on a regular basis, maybe even twice a week if you've got gravel mulch, and blow it off. Get your blower, blow it off, blow it out, get in those crevices, try to get those leaves out of there so they don't turn into soil eventually. And then when you're dealing with weeds in that space, that's where Agrolon is great. There's some other products. Miramichi is one of them that you can just use to spot treat weeds that you see in there. And, Agrolon is my go-to for that because it's not going to hurt the soil around the plants. It's not going to really hurt your plants. It will dry out and kill the weed pests you're dealing with in that gravel. So hope that's helped. That was basically a how-to grow plants with gravel as a mulch deal. So great question there. Thank you for that question. All right, we are going to go to, we have a question here from Tim, Tim Johnson used to be a top fan, but I guess he stopped paying as close attention. So, all right, Tim says, will my bougainvillea vines grow back? It's dead to the ground. Yeah, I think it will. Yeah, Tim, I think it will. So you want to cut it back to the ground with bougainvillea. We want to remove all kind of stress, and you don't want to overwater, but we do want to make sure that the area stays wet enough. So that's the trick with bougainvillea. They do like really well-draining soil. But yeah, I'd cut it back to the base, and I'd give it 3 weeks. And if we're not seeing new growth in 3 weeks, if April rolls around and we're not seeing new growth on stuff, I'm ready to call it. So that's what I would think you would do with your bougainvillea. Now, it's going to like the warmer weather that's coming. It's going to like the rain, but don't overwater these things. That's a big important deal. Don't overwater them. So thanks, Tim, for that question. All right, here we go. Question number 3. All right, this is from Kathy. Kathy, thanks for the question. So, Kathy knows her weeds here. All right, weeds such as oxalis, dandelions, and chickweed are so prevalent in my garden beds. Is there anything besides Roundup I can use before planting my garden for spring to tackle these? Yeah. So oxalis is what we often call wood sorrel. It looks a lot like clover. It's got a purple flower or a yellow flower. So field sorrel, the purple one is called wood sorrel. And Agrolon knocks those out so quick. So that's a great one. Now, oxalis and dandelion, they have a taproot or a base root. And so if you can get the little bottom of their root out, especially with dandelion, you will start having the problem. You won't have the problem anymore. Chickweed is super easy to kill with Agrolon. And I know this is one of those classic weeds, right? Weeds' main goal, shallow roots, bad roots, but they make a lot of seeds, right? And chickweed is the classic one of those. So crazy news for you, though. The forest, the wood sorrel, that purple flower, the dandelion leaves, and the chickweed are all edible. So if these are in your veggie garden, maybe you just have a crazy forager meal and just eat them all. And then, it's not a problem anymore, is it? So all of them have a really interesting nutrient pack as well. So I don't know, kind of a crazy idea, but chickweed doesn't survive much in my garden because it's so easy to weed out. But dandelion has those deep roots that can be problematic. So, but yeah, Agrolon works great for all of those weeds you talked about. Again, the dandelion, you want to make it get a taproot. If you are managing that by hand, the oxalis and the dandelion, you've got to get their taproot out. So important things there. Thanks, Kathy, for that question. And we're going to keep on rolling here. Wow, it's cranking. Oh, look, we have I'm getting another pointed to, okay, this one's from David McCrary. Okay, I'm going to go to this side because sorry if I'm squinting. I'm not angry. I'm just, I can't. So what is the best way to kill a dwarf palmetto just short of pouring gasoline on it? Pouring gasoline. I can't get rid of the one in my yard. So dwarf palmettos are a lot of people's favorite plant, the Texas sable. It's a native. So honestly, I might post it on Nextdoor or Facebook and say, does anybody want this? Come dig it up. That is a surefire way to get rid of it because somebody will. I know that there's a Facebook page, HomeShow Garden Pros. We would be happy to talk about that. I love those plants, but when it comes down to it, the only way to really kill them is with stump killer. So stump and vine killer, it's the kind, that's what it's called, and you dap it on the trunk. So you would whack it down, cut it down right at the base, and then kind of dap a little, paint a little on the stump itself. Having said that, that's still you doing the work. You know, if you post it on Nextdoor, hey, someone's going to come dig it out for you. So that's a great little plant. And so, David, hope that helps a little bit. But stump and vine killer, if you can't find someone who will just take it off your hands for you, because a lot of people love those little guys. So I know Memorial Park's looking for some. So if you just want to dig it up and take it up there, they will receive that. Great question, though. A lot of these native plants are actually really hard to get rid of because they're kind of, evolved for our climate. They've adjusted their approaches. So big anchor roots, water stuff up top, and it's hard to get them out. Sago palms are, not really bred for our area, but they are locked in the ground. So, people will spray native plants, they'll spray to get rid of it, and they just come back because they're survivors. So good question there. Thanks a lot. All right. Oh, we have one you guys are really coming in with the questions. Thank you. So Sherry Steger, who's been a guest with me before, great gal. She's doing good. Thoughts going out to her. So Sherry asked a question, can I use Agrelon in the azalea bed? Will it hurt the roots? I also have the trailing strawberry invasive plant in the grass and in the azalea bed. Yeah, so the kind of summer strawberry plant that she's talking about can have a little needle on it, makes it a little red berry. The great thing about Agrelon is that as long as you don't get it on the leaves of the azalea, if you're really doing it, just treating it by the ground, you're not going to have an issue with azaleas at all. So no, it won't hurt the roots of that plant. Once it gets into the soil, it kind of mixes and becomes, goo that's no longer the active ingredient. And so just wet the leaves of those Indian strawberries and then sprinkle this stuff on and it'll kill them. So I've seen it work. I know it works, especially in warm weather. So good stuff there. Thanks, Sherry. All right. Our next question is, this one's not Chris. He's a lot of, he's a very polite person. Hello, Garden Pros. A question I have. I use play sand from Lowe's to build up a low spot in my front yard. Today I was listening to the show. I guess this is written Saturday. And sand is not the way to go for fixing lawns. It's not the way to go, if he's correct. So what should I apply to raise low spots? Today I'll be purchasing some Microlife Hybrid and Dakota Rev from Friendswood Hardware. Much appreciated, Chris. Okay, so the soil in Houston is always going to be shifting, right? It's always going to be kind of shifting and ebbing and flowing. And sand, if you got to do like a little low spot, is not too big of a deal. But if you're really dealing with a big thing, the best thing to do is to bring in some, I believe, bed soil. So if you want to go with bags, there's the Gardener's Magic from Landscaper's Pride, a really great product. It will green up the grass around it. That grass will grow back very quickly. But that or compost is the only really thing you want to put in there that's going to mound up at all. And anything you're putting in there, it's going to sink down a little bit. So give it a little bevel. But anything from Landscaper's Pride, including their topsoil, would be worth doing because it's going to be great. You just want something that's more like soil than sand is. The sand is not going to encourage the grass to grow back through it, and then it can shift a lot more readily than the clay. So I'm not opposed to doing sand in small cases, especially if you're running out of space, but, do something that's also good for your grass, and sand's not really one of those. So a lot of times the cheapest sand you can get has a lot of weed seeds in it too, so you may wind up with the same exact problem Chad has, which we don't want that. Okay, here we go. Answering Perry's question. Perry says, yo, I bought the she's watching Hamilton a lot. They say yo a lot in that show, Hamilton. I bought the Agrelon crabgrass killer to hit those weeds you've been chatting about. However, it's a powder. Anything out there that could go further, perhaps in a spreader? So Agrelon is a powder. And when it's warm out, it works so great. It's definitely the way to go if you're trying to spot kill weeds. So, but there are other things like Mirimichi that work, and Mirimichi is Mirimichi, a lot of I's. You can Google that or whatever. They do a fine job. If you're pushing your soil forward, in about a month here, your St. Augustine is going to outcompete any weeds you've got. So if you can focus on soil health and root health of that St. Augustine, you really won't have a weed problem. At that point, the big weed problem comes from overwatering. And so if you can imagine, if compaction is a problem, we're overwatering, that's compacting, then we're putting down herbicide that's killing and compacting also. Agrelon doesn't do that. And so we've got this compounded problem that can happen when we really want to attack the weeds too intensely. So I would just say, if your weed problem isn't insane, then just let it be. So spot treat with Agrelon. I have gotten by with some very light treatments on that stuff, but there are some other good stuff that you can get. And Perry Liston, Agrelon does work in Bermuda. So Bermuda is very vigorous. It needs to be mowed a little bit lower than St. Augustine, but if you can kind of cut back on the water a little bit and water deeply, maybe once a week, you will get some real destruction from that Bermuda on any weed stuff. So hope that helps you out. So all right, here we go. I think we're at question number 5. We're going so fast. It's great. All right, here we go. Okay. Oh, look at that. This person doesn't like Bermuda. So Perry, you're a nemesis here. All right, 2 questions. How can you remove or minimize Bermuda grass growing in St. Augustine grass? Okay. Gotcha. I see the question. I'm just going to answer that one offhand. So, Mark, I think we can figure out how to go to the camera. Okay. So, Bermuda grass grows shorter, right? Both of these grasses are going to come up and go sideways, right? Bermuda grass does it, at its max height, probably 6 inches, but the lowest height it'll do it at is about 2.5 inches, right? Where it'll actually come up and go sideways and make a total carpet at 2.5 inches. So if you've got St. Augustine and Bermuda and you're mowing at 2.5 inches, what kind of grass are you going to have? You can't answer. I can't hear you. You're going to have Bermuda grass, right? Because that's the height that it grows at. St. Augustine really is like 3.5, 4 inches. So if you're in a competition, but you like a shorter lawn, you've got to make a decision whether or not that you want the Bermuda grass or the St. Augustine. Now, St. Augustine is more herbicides work on St. Augustine to kill it. So if you're looking for a killer, it's going to be a lot easier to kill your St. Augustine. So I would avoid any kind of herbicide on that front because you really could threaten this lawn that you want. For this year, you're going to mow a little bit higher. So you're going to raise that mower up to 3.5 inches, and that's where you're going to stay all year. And you'll start to see the St. Augustine, just by that mechanical adjustment, kind of you're adjusting the cultural situation to like St. Augustine grass more than Bermuda. And so that's how we win that battle. So if you're like Perry and you want to see your Bermuda growing, you need to lower that, 2 inches, 2.5 inches. That's where you need to be on kind of classic Celebration Bermuda. So that's question number 1. Back, here we go. All right. So Steve's second question, is there a compost in granular form that you can use to apply with a broadcast spreader to St. Augustine yard? If so, is this in addition to fertilizer? So Steve, the easy answer there is no. There's not a compost that you can spread. Now, if you can get 2 MicroLife products and spread them just kind of at the same time, one than the other, Humates Plus the MicroLife 624, you combine those and you really have a lot of the qualities of compost. You've got a lot of carbon. You've got humic acid that is really great for breaking up our clay soil, opening it up so roots can go deeper. You got nitrogen. You have quite a bit of the microbes that should be in the soil. And then you have tons of minerals. So MicroLife's got something 50 to 70 minerals or something like that in it. 56 maybe what they have in there, but that's a lot. And so you've got a lot of the stuff that you need. Now, if you're doing that instead of a compost top dressing, you really want to do it pretty heavily, maybe like 1 1.5, what it says in the bag, just pretty heavily in place of a compost top dressing. That's going to be a lot easier to spread. Now, if you just, kind of do the math, it's going to add up a little bit more quickly, but you're going to get results that way. So those two combined really do a great job of mimicking what compost top dressing does, and it's highly spreadable. So Microlife can be found a ton of places. If you want to know the locations, you can go to our website, HomeShowGardenPros.com. We've got a good little map there of what they've got. So, whoo, that was rapid fire. Rapid fire. You guys, we're going to watch a great little video on freeze recovery for gingers. If you have more questions that you want to get answered, jump in there in the chat and let me know, and we will get to those after this video. So we're going to Joey out in Richmond, Texas. Hey, Joey.
Variegated gingers are a popular plant in our Houston tropical landscapes. Now they all look like this right now, but don't worry, they should come back from all the way at the ground level. What you need to do is cut them back to the ground. There's not going to be anything left, but just some stalks. It may take a little bit for them to start coming back. Since they are tropical, the heat really stimulates their growth. So they won't kick it in gear probably until late March or even April. But I have pretty good confidence that they'll make it back. Put a little bit of mild organic fertilizer on them just to ease them back into spring mode. Don't overwater because they don't have a lot of foliage, so they're not going to be using a lot of water. If you overwater them, that'll make them rot and make the problems worse.
Great thoughts there from Joey out of Enchanted Gardens. And he really said it, we do not want to overwater these plants. So soon, it's really important to pay attention to your soil. So yeah, as you're planting plants, you'll notice their dryness or wetness depending on kind of situation. But I'm seeing a lot of trees begin to bud out. So elms, ash, oaks, they're all budding out. And that's when really we start using a lot of that soil water up. Just like you said, when we have the leaves is when we need to apply the water. So I don't want you watering too much. In my opinion, planting plants too low and overwatering kills more plants in Houston than anything else at all. So that's overwatering is the old kill them with kindness thing, and that's fine when we're talking about our enemies, but when it comes to our plants, we don't want to do that. So let's do one last question. Check. No, we're good. We're good. Mark, we're good. Okay, great. So thanks you guys so much for tuning in. This has been Home Show Garden Pros, the live weekly version. Please tune in Saturday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. We will be talking gardening with Bob Patterson from Southwest Fertilizer on Sports Radio 610. So look forward to it. And I do want to make a couple quick announcements before we leave here. One, this weekend, very exciting, is the Lake Houston Home and Garden Show. A really cool show. You can kind of check it all out. If you go to you just Google Textwood Lake Houston or just Google Lake Houston Home and Garden Show. They do a great job. So much information up there. So that'll be there. Tom will be there doing his show, and I'll be there doing a class. So that'll be a lot of fun. Speaking of classes, Oba's got a couple classes coming up. I'm teaching on beginner veggie gardening. So obaonline.org is the way to go. A lot of cool stuff to listen to. But, if you're looking for gardening advice, look no further than our Facebook page and our website, HomeShow Garden Pros. Started with that, HomeShowGardenPros.com. Thanks, and I'll see you guys soon on the webs.